It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. Well, thank you to each and every one of you that has tuned into today's program. We have an amazing brand new diva that we're going to be welcoming to our family. If this is your very first time, a huge welcome. The Divas That Care is now in its 11th season. We're listened to in over 30 countries around the world, and it's because of all of our amazing listeners that share our program that we've continued to be able to do this and have fantastic, amazing, inspirational guests that have been on our program. So a big shout out to all of you out there. All right, let's get started. Today's guest is Rhonda Armour, and I'm so excited to get to know her. She is going to inspire each and every one of you today. So welcome to the show, Rhonda.
Thank you so much for having me, Candace. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I'm excited. You know, I'm so glad that I had a couple of minutes before our program just to chat with you, because I think that you are going to inspire so many of our listeners today. But before we kind of dive into that, would you mind spending a couple of minutes kind of introducing yourself to our tribe out there?
Absolutely. Wow, where to start, right? So I am a mom, a job that I take very seriously and I love, a mom of two girls, and I'm married to a firefighter who has a busy schedule, and I'm an entrepreneur as well. I'm a personal trainer as well as a nutrition and lifestyle coach. And you know, I've got a story just like everybody else does in terms of, you know, where I've come from and where I'm going and where I hope to go in the future. And in terms of a little bit of background, I came from the corporate world. I was in human resources for many years. You know, it was great at first. You know, we're all excited to get into the corporate world and make a living for ourselves, but that soon became really not my passion and not super inspiring for me anymore. And when I had kids, that became a lot more real for me, because I felt like there's got to be more to life than the daily grind in the corporate world. And anyone that's out there sort of doing the desk job and you know, sort of burning the midnight oil knows what that's like, trying to balance a job and a career while sort of making a name for yourself in the corporate world, as well as balancing that family life. And it's hard. It's really tough. You're really torn in multiple directions, and your priorities seem to be sort of uncertain. And, you know, when I started to have a family, I recognized again that this was not really what I wanted and didn't want for my life, because I wasn't spending time in the areas that I loved. And, you know, kind of running in the background with that was that I, from a very young age, actually suffered from depression, which of course, you know, emotions and hormones are all over the place. And then when I had my kids, I suffered from depression. And the good thing that came out of that, I guess, if you will, is that it made me question, you know, am I okay with living, you know, in this job that I'm not super happy with and not seeing my kids as much as I want to? And, you know, what else is out there for me, and what is my calling, if you will? And it gave me the opportunity to, you know, do some soul searching and some, you know, digging into what I was passionate about. And that wasn't the corporate world. And that's where I started, you know, going to the world of fitness and then, you know, nutrition and working with this amazing women that want to put their health back in, you know, they want back on the priority list, right. And put themselves back in the driver's seat. And, you know, something I've also struggled with, you know, along with sort of the depression, was my relationship with food and, you know, body image and all those things. And so trying to, you know, help other women that have struggled and change their story when it comes to their health. So that's sort of it in a nutshell, if that gives you an idea of where I came from and where I'm headed.
Wow. You know, and that's why I told our listeners, I'm like, you're going to be so inspiring to each and every one of us today. And I'm kind of laughing when I'm listening to your story in the beginning about the children, because I'm like, my 4 daughters really made me reevaluate my life too. And I did a lot of changes. I'm like, children do that to us. It's amazing. We have this path before our children, and then we have this path after our children.
That's right. That's right.
And it's crazy because you don't even imagine what it's going to be like. And I could never, I look back now and, you know, my oldest is 18 and I think I'm like, I can't imagine. I never thought of my life being what it is today. Definitely not back then. So I always give kudos to the people that, you know, obviously we have this feeling that we want to do something different. And children seem, I don't know what it is about them, but they definitely change us in a lot of ways.
Absolutely agree. I think for me, it was, you know, my kids just, you want to set that example, right? That you don't have to, you know, just be stuck where you are and accept where you are in life, that you have choices, and it's okay to kind of put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And it's hard, you know, it was hard for me to leave my really well-paying, you know, corporate job, you know, benefits, you know, really secure, and take a leap of faith and into something that I was not familiar with and had no idea sort of what direction I knew or what direction I was going to go in. But the one thing that I did know was that something had to change, and my kids were really great for that, you know, so that I could have more balance and more time with them, because they grow up so quickly and you don't have the time that you think that you had. And so being able to have that work-life balance was just a big priority for me. And that's why I changed. But you're right. The kids have a funny way of changing your perspective on things and your priorities.
Oh, my goodness. So my question that I have for you is that because you went to the corporate world and you had mentioned some things that you were working on, why did you decide really to dive into personal training and all that? Was that a big shift from the corporate world? Because the human resources, you know, like, why did you decide this was what I needed to do instead of, you know, maybe branching into something else?
Right. It's funny. I got started in kind of an odd way. I was actually attending a boot camp class as a participant. I've always been very, you know, into health and you know, sports and being really conscious about that. And I love being active. And I was doing a boot camp class and I was a participant. And I thought, wait a second, I want to be the instructor. I want to be the one inspiring women to, you know, to work out and feel really good and get their sweat on. So I just started pursuing that and getting my certification, and I really loved it. And then it's just sort of, gosh, over the last 12 years, it's just morphed into this amazing opportunity. You know, I sort of added the nutrition coaching on top of that. And then I, you know, got certified as a life coach as well, because there's so many, you know, issues that people are dealing with that impact their ability to take care of their fitness and take care of their nutrition. So there's that aspect that I can bring into it as well. And it just sort of snowballed. And the more I got into it, the more I recognized that I really want to have an impact on women, and I want to empower them to, like I said, take back that control. Because I think part of it is me sort of, you know, living through my past, in that I always felt like I was out of control with my own habits. And I wanted to, you know, sort of limit that for other women and have them, you know, take an easier path to success when it comes to them being in the driver's seat of their own health. So it really just sort of took on a life of its own. But I just knew that me helping women and inspiring them was what I wanted to do. And this was the first step, being a personal trainer, you know, teaching boot camp classes and doing one-on-one training. That was the first step. And I had no idea it was going to evolve into what it has today. But I'm so grateful that I made the initial decision to take that leap and take that jump, and worked out really well. But it's you know, been a lot of work, but all worth it.
Oh, wow. And I love it, because I think this is, you know, obviously this is something, our world has always been very fast paced. You know, a lot of us we don't necessarily look after ourselves anymore. You know, there's always so many people around us, and we're the last people. And I think we have to change that mindset to realize that, no, we have to look after us so that we can look after everybody else. But you're probably seeing even another shift in everything, because now that a lot of people have had to now stay at home, that's another dimension altogether. So I want to talk about that, because that's kind of, I bet a lot of people are like, okay, now I'm forced to do something. Do you find that more people are now, because they're forced to be at home, are now thinking, okay, now I need to really look after myself?
Absolutely. There's actually been two sides to it. One has been, you're right, that women are like, okay, and it's primarily women that I work with, right? So I'm speaking specifically around them, but it's more about, now I'm at home and I have maybe more time. My life looks very different, but maybe the time that I have available for myself is there. So how do I capitalize on that time to do better, right? And make myself feel better. But then there's been other issues that have been coming up around what am I doing with my life? How am I spending my time? How am I, what am I doing that's good for me, not just good for everybody else? We're really good as women, especially moms, right? Taking care of everybody else, like you said, and putting ourselves last. And now that, we've all been sort of forced to stay home for a really long time, we've recognized that that's just not cutting it anymore, right? To be running ourselves ragged, looking after everybody else, doing our careers and taking care of all that, and not doing anything that we actually love. And I know right now we're really limited, especially here in Ontario. We're still in lockdown and can't do a whole lot of, fun things, but it gives you some thought around, when we come out of this and out the other side, what changes am I going to implement in my life that are going to make my life what I actually want it to be, instead of just sort of being in that robotic state of, go to work, come home, take care of the kids, repeat, it's made a lot of my clients think, no, there's more, there has to be more. And I want to do more for me, so that I can be, a better entrepreneur, a better employee, and a better mom and better wife, and, and really focusing in on themselves, which has been an amazing realization for them, and a blessing that's really come out of all of this, COVID stuff, is that you have had the opportunity to reflect on what was, and maybe what wasn't working in in the old world, and then how we can make changes going forward.
Oh my goodness, yes, I can see that completely. And I love some of the things that you're doing with people. You do one-on-one coaching, but you also do group coaching. How does that, which ones, when people are thinking about that, which ones, how do they kind of figure out which one's best for them?
It's interesting. Some people are just sort of like lone wolves, right? They want it to be sort of about them. They're maybe not comfortable working with other people. They want, just want to be able to kind of open up and create a partnership. And that's great. And sometimes it works well, both on the fitness side and on the nutrition and lifestyle coaching side. And that's great. It's for them. And then others want, to feel like they're part of something, right? Part of sort of a team. And there's that support. And, it is nice to know that there's other like-minded women out there that, we can kind of empower each other and build each other up. And so I do, personal training or I guess group training for, families or little groups of friends. And of course, everything's done virtually now. So it's not live, but it's worked amazingly well. And everyone tunes in from their own homes, and we do workouts. Grab a couple girlfriends and do that. Or, on the nutrition and lifestyle side of things, doing some group coaching there can be super beneficial, again, for women that want to feel like they're part of something. Maybe because, especially right now where we're all home and we're kind of isolated, to feel like you're part of something and a part of a community where you can see that you're not alone in your journey is super helpful for a lot of women as well. So it's nice to be able to offer both options for women.
Yes.
So they can pick what's best for them.
Well, and that's exactly, there's all these different individuals, and I love that you were able to, try to help everybody out there. And I also love that you do family nutrition and fitness. It's all about the family out there and working together. So tell me a little bit about that, because that really intrigues me also.
Yeah, it's, this sort of stems from the fact, again, going back to us women wanting to do it all and take care of everybody else, that, if a woman is going through, wanting to start their own journey around taking better care of their health and their overall wellness, it's hard to do that on their own when they are, they live with a family, whether they have a spouse and they have kids or extended family living with them. And to be able to do that on their own while the rest of the family kind of operates separately on their own can be tough. So I found it useful to engage the whole family, even the kids, obviously there'll be different topics that are relevant for kids, but, teaching them about good nutrition habits and being active and getting good sleep and managing stress and all those things are topics that we will cover. But it's really valuable when you can get the entire family involved and everybody has their piece that they'll contribute, and then they're all on the same page. And at home, when they're not with me, then they can be, supporting one another and building each other up and gaining that inspiration, that motivation from one another, instead of one person of the family trying to make improvements to their health while the rest of the family, does whatever they please and is completely disconnected. So it does work really well when the family can work at it together as a team.
Thing to do, because I almost feel like if you're doing it by yourself and everybody around you is doing something different, you're almost setting yourself up for failure, because you're going to be watching everybody, you're going to be jealous of the things that they're doing and want to go back to those, sometimes those bad habits, because everybody around you is doing them. And I can definitely see that. I know that that's something that's happened even in my family. One of us would be on this really big health kick, and we're trying to, improve our lives and do that. And then the other part, my husband or vice versa, wouldn't be doing it. But now that my husband and I are on the same path and we do that, it's so much easier than when we were doing it separately.
Yes. No, I completely agree. It's nice to know that you're supported, right? And you can kind of cheer each other on when maybe you hit kind of a bump in the road and continue to push forward together. There's nothing like, and even in my one-on-one coaching, while maybe the women are doing it on their own at home, they still have me, right? There's a partnership. There's something to be said about feeling like you are being supported, like you have someone to count on, whether it's me as a coach or your spouse or your kids or whoever it is, other family members and friends. And it's nice to feel like you're part of something and not doing it alone. It makes it so much easier. And I'm really, an advocate for long-term change, not, a little gimmicky short-term success of, let's, try a program and it doesn't work and then I go back to the way I was before. We're trying to create, long-term habits in families, for women, that is going to take them the rest of their lives so that they can be healthy, well into old age. And that's what we're really going for. So if you can feel like you're part of something and you're supported, from me or from the family, it really does go a long way.
And isn't that a tip for life? We can't do it by ourselves. We need that support, no matter what it is, in our health, in our business, and that. Having mentors, having support networks is so important. I believe that we all need, coaches in all aspects of our life, because those are the people that are there to support us. Over the years, I've really leaned on a lot of people, different people over the years, depending on the situations that I've been through. And those are the people that I was able to throw ideas at, and they were the people that I was able to rely on when, other people weren't able to do that.
Yes. No, I totally agree. I think, being able to reflect and say, I'm not the expert in all areas of my life. Last year during COVID when it hit, I actually hired a business coach, not because my business was failing, but because I had some ideas and some thoughts about how to grow and move in a different direction. And I thought, I'm going to bring on a coach and someone to partner with. Being a solopreneur can be lonely. You don't have, people you don't have to like you were in the corporate world, right? So you're right. Bringing on the experts in your life, in your life that can help to guide you and cheer you on and support you and be there when things don't go just as smoothly as you would like is so vital. But recognizing that, you need the help and being okay with asking for the help doesn't make you weak. I think it actually is a sign of strength, because you can recognize that and then move forward. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Rhonda, how can our listeners get a hold of you? How can they find you? I know you're on Instagram, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you have a website. How can they get a hold of you so they can connect with you?
So my website is rhondaarmourcoaching.com. Like you said, I am on Facebook and LinkedIn under the same name, either Rhonda Armour or Rhonda Armour Coaching. But again, if you just go to my website, you'll see the links to all of my social media there. I would love the support. If anyone has questions or needs support and wants to partner, I'm happy to help. I offer a complimentary consultation to anyone that's looking just to chat and get to know each other with no pressure to commit to anything. It has to always be the right fit. But thank you for the opportunity to share the social media and where people can find me. I'm here to help.
I love that. And it's always it's always a good thing to check out people, and I love Instagram where people can just show those pictures and those stories. I think that is the coolest part. One of the things I always ask our divas, Rhonda, is if they want to share some personal, like some last minute tips, anything that's going to be happening in the future. This is your time to, leave us with some amazing stuff.
Okay. Well, I think it goes in conjunction with what I talked about earlier. We've all, and this has been a worldwide thing, so it doesn't matter where you've lived, you have been sort of stopped in your tracks with COVID, right, at some point in the last year. And I would really encourage people to reflect on what your life looked prior to COVID, what it looked like, and what it looks like now, and take the best pieces from both of those worlds to create your new path. Because I think that, while we all want everything to go back to normal, what normal was back in the day may not have been your ideal situation. You might think you were happier back then than you actually were. And I think it's worthwhile to reflect and take the good pieces from, like I said, prior to COVID and the good pieces from right now, combine them and create a brand new path for yourself. But you utilize this time. It's been given to us. It can be seen as a gift. So take a look and create a new path for yourself, and enjoy the journey along the way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I love that. And,
thank you.
I had such a great time chatting with you. I hope that you come into our group, the Changemakers Cafe, and talk with some of our listeners that are in that group so that you can connect with them in that platform also.
Absolutely. I will definitely do that. I'm looking forward to meeting some of your family and your community out there. And again, thank you so much for having me today. It truly was an honor. You were amazing to chat with, and I hope to do it again sometime.
Oh, Rhonda, we would love to have you back on the Divas That Care. You are absolutely fantastic and an amazing individual that, I think that you could really share a lot of tips and tools with all of us and help us through our journeys, because I think that's where it is. We all are looking for something. We all are trying to figure out our pathways, and health and nutrition is a huge part of, keeping us going where we need to do. If we don't have our health, it doesn't matter how much wealth we have. It's not going to last, right?
No, you're absolutely right. Exactly. It has to be a priority, and sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out where to start. And that can be the tough part. But once you start, you gain momentum and motivation, and you're well on your way.
That's wonderful. Oh, gosh. Yes, I would love to have you back on our program again soon.
Thank you. I would love that, Candace.
And you know what? A huge shout out to all of you amazing listeners. As I said earlier, it's been 11 years. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do out there. We love our tribe. We love our community of amazing women, not even just women, amazing individuals, men out there also that have really been a big support of the Divas That Care and everything that we are trying to do. Make sure that you check out our Giving Tuesday, where we support a lot of our causes, and make sure that you check out all of our other hosts at divasthatcare.com. I hope that each and every one of you has a fantastic day and that you do something kind. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.